Its concept is a magnetic maze. The player have to maneuver an avatar, either paperclip or magnet, using a magnet at the bottom of the maze to pass through various obstacles present in the maze and ultimately retrieve silver and golden bells for points. The base of the maze is a huge corrugated board. There are 4 divisions of the board, colored yellow, orange, green and pink. Each player can choose one division to play in. Under each division, there are 2 routes that the player can choose, the long route with less obstacles or the short route with more obstacles. Tracing from the starting point, there will be a starting platform and base, made from the cardboard sticking out of the corrugated board. It is for the player to place their avatar before the game begins. The maze walls are made from cardboard and colored paper of the division color. It is made from non-magnetic materials so that it will not have any effects on magnetism during the game. Going down the short path, we can see a tissue path. Tissue paths are in place to increase friction and increase distance between the player's avatar and the guiding magnet, thus increasing the game's difficulty. As we continue, we can see magnetic strips pasted on maze walls. These magnetic strips can hinder the movements of the player's avatar, as it can exert magnetic forces on the avatar when it comes too close to the magnetic strips. We can then find the overhead magnet, which can either repel or attract the player's avatar when it is a magnet, depending on like or unlike poles facing each other, or attract the player's avatar when it is a paperclip. Both of these situations can happen when the player is not careful at avoiding the overhead magnets, which will trap the avatar. As we walk down the longer routes, we can see a thorny path made of toothpicks sticking out of the walls. If the player tries to force the avatar against the thorny path, the toothpick will exert a force back on the avatar, similar in magnitude and opposite in direction, according to Newton's third law of motion. Thus, this thorny path effectively narrows down the path that the avatar can take, and increasing difficulty of the game. Soda can strips and aluminium foils stick onto the maze walls are also added as it acts as a decoy, tricking players who assume that all metals are ferromagnetic materials and will be attracted by a magnet. These players who do not understand the magnetic properties will try to avoid these strips, which is totally unnecessary. As we go on, we can see a tunnel made from plastic and colored paper. This tunnel limits the maximum height of items that can pass through. Later on, when the avatar retrieves the bells, this tunnel limits the maximum number of bells a player can bring back to the base each time. At the end of each division, there will be an opening on each side of the walls surrounding the silver and gold bells. The bells are actually alloys of metals coated with gold or silver color. They contain a high percentage of iron, a ferromagnetic material, hence they are able to be attracted to magnets. Gold bells will reward more points to the players when they retrieve them, as they exhibit weaker ferromagnetism than silver bells. The opening on the wall is slightly bigger than the size of one bell, increasing the difficulty of drawing out the bells. After retrieving the bells, the player will place the bells in their bell holder before continuing the game. Lastly, we have the controller magnet at the bottom of the board, which attracts and controls the player's avatar, and the avatar itself available in magnet, magnet wrapped in paper, paperclip, and 2 linked paper clips. As the game is to be played above ground, 4 pillars of support are added to the structure to provide normal reaction force to prevent the board from sinking downwards due to gravity exerted on the board by the earth.
Suitable for groups with 2 to 4 players, Move It is a maze with obstacles along the different courses. Maneuver your avatar through magnet strips, tissue path, and even wall thorns. In the game, the objective is to collect as many bells back to your base, which will constitute to your points. The player with the most points at the end of the game will be the winner. How to play Move It? Before the start of the game, there will be a pre-game segment which will determine the avatar which individual players will receive. Choosing of avatar can be done such as but not limited to the following: scissors, paper, stone, rolling of die. For 4-player teams, the avatar will be given as follows: first, magnet; second, magnet wrapped with paper; Third, paper clips. Fourth, 2 linked paper clips. For groups with less than 4 players, they can choose to omit any avatar, and the avatar eventually given to players will be modified as follows. After players have chosen their avatars, the game will start. Starting from their base, players will maneuver their avatar through the maze and obstacles using the controller magnet placed at the bottom of the maze. After reaching the center, players are to bring their bells back to their base. Upon reaching the base, remove their bells from the avatar and put it in the holder given. The game will continue until all bells are removed from the center. Points will be awarded based on the point system. Silver bell, 1 point. Golden bell, 5 points. Players will record their points in the score sheet. The player with the most points wins. Note, should the player's avatar be trapped, do not panic and free it. Next, we start from the starting point and carry on with the game.
The 4 avatars of the games are a paper clip, 2 link paper clip, magnet, and a magnet wrapped in papers. The avatars are attracted to the controller magnet at the base of the board and are maneuvered around the maze by moving the controller magnet. Firstly, the paper clip is made of a ferromagnetic material which can be magnetized. When brought near to the bottom permanent magnet, the paper clip will be attracted and it becomes a temporary induced magnet. During magnetic induction, the magnetic domains of the paper clip align parallel to each other due to the magnetic field of the bottom magnet, producing a large net field strength in it. Magnetic induction can occur without any contact with the magnet as long as they are brought near to each other within the magnetic field. Though the bottom magnet and the paper clip are separated by a thin board, magnetic induction can still occur. With the same concepts of magnetic induction, the induced magnet is able to attract and induce the bells, exhibiting magnetic induction of ferromagnetic materials. Secondly, magnetic induction occurs to any ferromagnetic material regardless of quantity, as long as it is placed in the magnetic field of the magnet. The 2 link paper clips will be induced by the magnet too. The magnetic field of the link paper clips will be larger than a single paper clip. With a stronger magnetic force and a larger area of contact, it is easier to attract the bells, however, it will be more difficult in maneuvering it. Thirdly, as the magnetic property states that like poles repel and unlike poles attract, when the small button magnet is brought near to the permanent magnet at the bottom, the unlike poles will attract as their magnetic strength is strong enough to attract each other even with the non-magnetic board in between them, hence not affecting the game. This is because they are both in the magnetic field of each other. Lastly, for the magnet wrapped with paper, you will be attracted to the bottom magnet as unlike poles attract. However, due to the paper wrapping, there is an increase in distance between the bottom magnet and the permanent magnet at the bottom. This causes them to be on the further part of each other's magnetic fields and cause the magnetic forces of attraction acting on them be smaller. This is because the strength of magnetic field drops exponentially as distance increases. This will make it harder to maneuver the avatar around the maze and also attracting the bell due to the weaker magnetic strength. This increases the difficulty of the avatar. As for the bells that the player is required to attract, they are not made of gold and silver, as gold and silver are diamagnetic materials which will repel against any applied magnetic field. The bells are actually made out of ferromagnetic metal alloys containing a high percentage of iron, thus enabling them to exhibit ferromagnetism and be attracted by the induced avatar magnet. Magnetic induction can then happen to the bells as they are ferromagnetic, and the temporary bell magnets can then attract other bells, causing a bell clump which hinders the avatar movement as the player cannot maneuver a huge clump of magnet. Further examples of magnetic properties are demonstrated through our obstacle placed in the maze. In our maze, there is tissue paper carpeting part of the route, and this acts as an obstruction, as when the avatar is maneuvered along this course, there will be an added distance between the avatar and the permanent magnet at the bottom, hence weakening the magnetic force. Also, the tissue paper is an obstruction, as there will be increased friction between the avatar and the board, hence increasing the difficulty. Aluminium and tin strips are also placed along the path Aluminium and tin strips are some exceptions of metals that are non-magnetic materials. We can see this as when we move the avatar along these routes, they will not be attracted to the aluminium and tin strip. They act as decoys to trick players who do not understand the magnetic properties. Other non-magnetic materials include copper and gold. Magnetic strips are placed along the pathway. These magnetic strips were cut from a long magnetic strip into smaller pieces, and though they were cut, they do not lose their magnetic properties. A magnetic strip actually consists of many small north and south poles. When cut, the north poles on one magnetic strip will be facing the south pole on the other magnetic strip, and the magnetic strip maintains the direction of its magnetic domain. We can see that the magnet is actually made up of many such tiny magnets or magnetic domain. Magnetic domain is a group of atomic magnets pointing in the same direction. In a permanent magnet, magnetic domain point in the same direction. The atomic magnets at the end of a magnet fan out due to repulsion between light poles. On various parts of the maze pathway, an overhead magnet will be placed. This overhead magnet will either attract or repel the avatar below it, depending on which pole of the base magnet has the player chosen to use. If attraction occurs, this means that both magnets have unlike poles facing each other, or if the avatar is the paperclip, and if the avatar is trapped. If repulsion occurs, it then means that like poles of both magnets are facing each other. As the avatar is very close to the overhead magnet, the magnetic field of the overhead magnet will exert a magnetic force to cause the avatar to flip over. And then, since the light poles are facing each other, attract the avatar, trapping it. This mechanism makes the game even more difficult when traveling back with the bells on them, as the bell will be very close to the overhead magnet, and the player's avatar with the bell has a higher possibility of getting trapped there, forcing them to restart from their starting platform.